Curious about so as a company that is relatively newer to linear television, what are the types of asks that buyers and sellers are demanding of you, and how things are trying to fit in? It's a question certainly for all three of you. And you've been playing in one particular space maybe for a little while, and someone's asking for either a different taxonomy or a different way of expressing it, or different timing around when it comes in and can be influenced in an addressable world of linear TV. What have been the largest gaps, and where do you see those maybe closing, coming together?
Well, I mean, for us, I mean, the big thing is cross-platform marketing. So we haven't been in the space for 6, 7, 8 years, as long as you guys have, working on the linear side. We're very much started off as an addressable company, focused on addressing envelopes to mailboxes, automating call centers, any form of addressability. So addressable TV is actually like the perfect entry point for a company like us. And the best example is large national advertisers, one in particular that we're thinking of, where they are trying to look at anonymous website visitors, match those against a cookie pool, translate them into subscriber IDs or TV audiences, and then distribute those out to the addressable TV platforms. That's happening today. But because the scale is here. So Newstar shows up, it's actually the agencies and advertisers that are pulling us forward. So there's that chance to create standardization across all of the different platforms with a common audience. Then you can pull back in the ad log files into a common format to ideally have an aggregated closed loop report, but we're probably not that far in the market yet.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about how do we make segments, make it for the buyer. So we work with SMG and Modi, for instance, quite a lot to work with them to define a target, and then we can action it through any of the media that the client desires. So that's our goal, is to provide that as a bit of a distribution hub. So help use our data to define the audience, work with the agencies, the buyer, the buy side, and then say, we can help you action that, whichever media channel you want to go, whether it's mobile, TV, online, and again, you guys, same thing, basically. So we view it as that's a way to synthesize, to streamline the process.
Do you hear more from television buyers that say are creating these segments and want to go unique, or it's kind of, hey, this worked in digital, can we copy paste this over here?
No, actually, we see a lot of just making them fresh, because a lot of them are TV buyers who then say, I also would like to use it in these other channels. We're not seeing as much of the digital coming this way. So
we're seeing it both ways. I would say there's 3 big changes that we're tracking. One is just faster turnaround times. Match the data faster, get the outputs out there, make it as fast as digital. 2 is greater diversity of data sources. So it's not just Nielsen, it's not just Age Demo from one of our great sources, but I've got this new data provider in industry XYZ that has this data source, how can I use that? And then the last one is the cross-platform that you guys were just talking about. We are seeing a lot of that. We're seeing the use case that Locke just mentioned with regards to taking cookies and bringing them back to addressable, which has, for us, trips, serious privacy reviews and governance reviews. Be careful on behalf of the whole ecosystem for how those things can be done. So I think of it as a 2x2. You've got digital and TV, you've got planning or targeting and measurement, and within that sort of 2x2, we're seeing all kinds of different use case permutations line up, starting on digital, starting on TV, going back and forth.
A question about the scrubbing and cleanliness of the third-party data and the sources that you guys have. As a lot of folks know, there's been a sort of a pendulum swing around folks being all in on third-party data usage from the buy side, and then it kind of waning a little bit because there were challenges around the original DMPs on the buy side, taking the stereotypical example of an auto intender segment, and someone who goes really, really deep on Kelley Blue Book definitely being an auto intender, and then that being thrown in the same stew as someone who read a seatbelt article on Washington Post. And that's all auto intender and created. And so it was hard originally for a buyer to kind of sift through and see where the good stuff was, because it was a blended CPM. It sounds like, have you guys been, has there been a movement towards a different type of transparency and kind of labeling things? We liken it to a can of soup a lot of times. You got to see the nutritional facts to see how fresh it is, to see what ingredient, how much salt, how much sodium's in there, to be able to say, all right, if it's $1.75 for this segment, great. I know that that's a fair blended CPM because it's got all this in there.
The base of our data is really offline data. So the good old name and address, that's base was direct mail. based direct marketing. So that's the base of our, adding the other things you mentioned, that's adjuncts, I'd say,
Yeah,
to our.
interesting, but not at the core asset of what makes it unique anyway. Yeah. Same?
Yeah, I think it's, if it's our own data, then we will go very deep on it. We know where it came from, its provenance, it's got decades of history, and so we're very comfortable there. When we start to activate other third-party data sources, the things get different because we can't represent to the same level of depth the details of that data. And so that's where we really step into a model of partner enablement. And if we've got a publisher, a TV publisher, another publisher, a measurement partner, of which there are many in the room, a data partner, and they want to come to terms, then we'll just step into the role of facilitating that connection and defer to them to create the demand for their data, to explain their data, et cetera.
With a couple of minutes left, Locke, I want to ask one final question on attribution. We spent a lot of on-camera and off-camera time talking about walled gardens in a digital ecosystem and a television ecosystem. You acquired your company acquired a firm in market share that was one of the largest independent, if you will, and we've seen a few large players that are digital media owners and tech companies have their own attribution system. It seems like that's going to be one of the largest next races in terms of it allowing everyone to play by the same rules in terms of how credit is given for being able to have a direct correlation between addressable TV spend and outcome, right?
Yeah, we're super excited about the acquisition. I mean, it's a great strategic fit with what we're doing on the identity side and the analytics side. So it's kind of like putting the chocolate, or the peanut butter inside the chocolate. The chocolate being what the advertisers need. So there's really two different things we're doing there. The lower level multi-touch attribution and getting all manner of data in there is critical. We were excited about the relationship that we announced with Facebook to get the Facebook spend in. And when we look at addressable TV, I'm excited about the access to the ad logs that we can pull in. There's all kinds of challenges there as well. It may be that for now the thing that we need to focus on is really more just simple closed loop type lift that we do today. But getting that data into a full multi-touch attribution is where we need to go. But I don't want that to get in the way of us driving demand. So with the relationships that come with the multi-touch attribution solutions and the strategy solutions for the CMO, the message that we're pushing hard is that now's the time to test addressable TV. Just get the data activated. So we tend to, at least for now, focus a little bit more on the CRM data. Modeling has to happen, to your point, whether it's Acxiom data, Experian data, Newstar's own data. We each have our own segmentation platforms, cross-platform to model it up. But it's, we're getting close. I mean,
Yeah. And north of 40% addressability in the US, we're getting to some good thresholds where there's actual scale and accuracy too. 3 companies making it happen. Please join me in thanking Brad, Eric, and Locke.